Thank you, Ranganath.
Okay. Works and sacrifice.
The yoga of the intelligent will and its culmination in the Brahmic status, which occupies all the close of the second chapter, contains the seed of much of the teaching of the Gita, its doctrine of desireless works, of equality, of the rejection of outward renunciation, of devotion to the divine. But as yet, all this is slight and obscure. What is most strongly emphasized as yet is the withdrawal of the will from the ordinary motive of human activities, desire, from man's normal temperament of the sense seeking thought and will, with its passions and ignorance, and from its customary habit of troubled, many branching ideas and wishes, to the desireless calm unity and passionless serenity of the Brahmic force. So much Arjuna has understood is not unfamiliar with all this. It is the substance of the current teaching which points man to the path of knowledge and to the renunciation of life and works as his way of perfection. The intelligence withdrawing from sense and desire and human action and turning to the highest, to the one, to the actionless Purusha, to the immobile, to the featureless Brahman, that surely is the eternal seed of knowledge. There is no room here for works, since works belong to the ignorance. Action is the very opposite of knowledge. Its seed is desire and its fruit its bondage. That is the orthodox philosophical doctrine, and Krishna seems quite to admit it when he says that works are far inferior to the yoga of the intelligence. And yet works are insisted upon as part of the yoga, so that there seems to be in this teaching a radical inconsistency. Not only so, for some kind of work no doubt may persist for a while, the minimum, the most inoffensive, but here is a work wholly inconsistent with knowledge, with its serenity and with the motionless peace of the self-delighted soul. A work terrible, even monstrous, a bloody strife, a ruthless battle, a giant massacre. Yet it is this that is enjoined, this that is sought to justify by the teaching of inner peace and desireless equality and status in the Brahman. Here then is an unreconciled contradiction. Arjuna complains that he has been given a contradictory and confusing doctrine, not the clear, strenuously single road by which the human intelligence can move straight and trenchantly to the supreme good. It is in answer to this objection that the Gita begins at once to develop more clearly its positive and imperative doctrine of works.
Yeah. Okay. So much of what he has said in the middle of the para is not his idea at all. It's very clear. He finishes that with this. He says that is the orthodox philosophical doctrine. It is not my doctrine, nor is it the Gita's doctrine. Now, the Gita and Sri both want you to act in the physical world. But the orthodox doctrine says if you start doing works in the physical world, it will give you desire and attachment. You will see, you will be in the world, and there are so many attractive things in the world that there will be born in you desire and attachment. So don't do any works, run away from the world. That is not anymore. In modern India, it's not like that. Things are changing very fast. But this is the orthodox traditional knowledge. Okay. So there seems to be a contradiction in this saying. And what that contradiction also is, we will have a look. Good morning, Tarika.
Morning, Ranganath. Sorry, I'm late.
No problem. We are going to just start we are in the chapter 11, works and sacrifice.
Yeah,
okay?
Today is first, no, so I thought no class. I just forgot. I just have. Oh, sorry.
Yasmin, good morning. I was wondering whether you had surgery. You also joined late a little bit.
Bonjour. I'm sorry I'm a little late.
No problem, because we are just starting the discussion of the para. Pallavi has just read the whole paragraph. It is about a page. So we'll start.
I was there sort of last 3/4 of the para.
Okay, right. But now we'll start from the beginning. The yoga of the intelligent will and its culmination in the Brahmic status. So, what is the yoga of the intelligent will? Use your mind, discriminate. Okay, it is the Jnana yoga. Use the mind to understand what is the reality and what is not. Use discrimination, which viveka and vichara. That is the traditional path. Intelligent will. Okay, intelligence is part of the mind and will is part of the vital. So you have to use both and find out the what is the reality and what is not. Normally, it is a neti method. You say, I am not the body, I am not the vital, I am not the mind, nor am I the senses, etc., etc. That wonderful poem of Shankaracharya, Nirvana Ashtakam. Okay. Mano buddhi ahankara chittani naham. If you have the interest, you can see that. Very simple Sanskrit, but very beautiful. So, this is the yoga of the intelligent will. And what does it culminate in? It culminates in the Brahmic status. So, I keep repeating so that this thing becomes very, very clear in the mind. What is the Brahmic status? Your consciousness rises out of the prison house of body, mind, life and enters into a consciousness which is static, infinite, eternal, featureless. It is a consciousness which cannot be described because there are no features. There is no adjective which you can apply to it. It is absolute. That's a Brahmic status. Okay, Brahmi sthiti. Okay, that's it. So you can call it Nirvana, you can call it Atman, you can call it the witness self, Sakshi. That's what you are. Your consciousness rises and becomes infinite and eternal, and you realize that you are immortal. Your consciousness has always been there and it will always remain. It's a part of the divine. Amsha Sanatana. Okay. So this is what he's saying. So if you use the intelligent will, then you end up with the Brahmi Sthiti. But the problem with the Brahmi Sthiti is normally there is a dislocation. There is a seeing of the physical world as unreal. You see them only as shadow forms, or sometimes you see them even as absolutely non-existing forms, only silhouettes. So has used the word silhouette, like in one of his poems. The world becomes like only silhouette forms. A silhouette is not a shadow. It's only the outer line. There is no significance at all. But even from a silhouette, you can make out whose silhouette it is. Na? So there is some sort of semi-reality, if you want, to the physical world. But you see only the outer forms. They don't have any essential reality. That's a problem. Whereas the Gita doesn't want that. The Gita and Srimdo both want you to see the physical world as reality in time and space, not reality in eternity, but in time and space they are real. They are transient, no doubt, but they are real so far as they last. But they disappear. And the traditional knowledge is saying, why do you want something transient? Go to something which is eternally true. So go to the Brahmic consciousness. So that's it. So, and this, what is its characteristic? So simply saying, it culminates in the Brahmi Sthiti, which occupies all the close of the second chapter. The second chapter, a lot of discussion of the Brahmi Sthiti, contains the seed of much of the teaching of the Gita. And what are they? Doctrine of desireless works, nishkama karma. When you do a work, don't expect a result. Normally, if you are doing yoga, by the way, if you are not doing yoga, by all means, certainly you have to do works in such a way that you want a success. He is talking about a condition where you are doing yoga. So you have to do works without the expectation of result. Nishkama karma. So that is the desireless works. Of equality, samatvam. Samatvam also, it has already said that samatvam is samata, is actually equal to yoga. Samatvam yoga uchyate. Okay. If you have samatvam, your consciousness is at a very high level because you are not affected by the reactions in the body, the mind and the life when something happens to you. The world is constantly entering into you, into your body, into your vital and your mind. Thoughts are entering your mind. Emotions from others are entering into you. People may insult you. People may praise you. So that's affecting your vital and all sorts of other things. Somebody may even give you a blow. That's not the physical. So physical, vital, mental, there's constant interchange with the physical world and you are affected normally. But if you are in the Brahmic city, your consciousness has come out and it is standing above and not being affected at all. Mind you, the body mind life will feel the pain and the insult and all. The old habit, okay, it's a machine. And the old habits will continue, but you are not. Your consciousness now you have realized my consciousness is the soul. I am pure Brahman. I am not the body mind life. So you are not affected at all. So that is the equal.
Rangada,
Yeah, tell me.
Rangada, one question. Like
Yeah,
in yoga, you said we do work without any expectation.
that's right.
So
In
without any expectation of also perfection in your work?
in the beginning, yes, it will lead to perfection because God will take care of it.
Rangada,
Yeah, tell me.
Rangada, what I felt is that desireless works means I don't have desire anything for myself. But the work itself should be perfect, like Pallavi said. Because
Well,
how can
then,
we do work for God or for the this thing without wanting it to be, I mean, nice? We may not expect any result for
Yes.
ourselves, but
okay,
the work should be good. Na? I mean, I feel that way. Because
okay,
when we
then
are doing for somebody we love, for somebody for the divine,
okay,
naturally we will want the work to be as best as it could be. But I don't want anything result. I don't want anything for myself or in return for
okay.
my, that way.
So I'll give you an example where what you're saying is not very correct. Okay. So here is Sri Aurobindo working for the nation. He is not working for himself. Okay. He is not working for himself. He is working for the nation. So is that perfection spiritual status? Sri Aurobindo says afterwards that no, because there is an ambition. When you want perfection, is there not an expectation? It may not be for yourself, but even wanting it for others or third person, one is fooling oneself. There is a trace of expectation. So that expectation should not be there at all. God will take care of perfection. Why should you? In fact, he says in the Uttarpada speech, Ramdo says that I thought I was doing work for the nation. I was not doing anything for myself. Read the Uttarpada speech. Okay. Then he says that I discovered that there was ambition lurking in the background. Okay. So in the beginning, if you are not doing yoga, certainly you have to expect a good result because otherwise you can't do work properly. But if you are doing yoga, that standard doesn't apply. You must do it absolutely without attachment and without any expectation. Leave the fruits.
Rangata, but okay, I understood that point that for not result for anything, for my nation, for my family, for anything,
Yeah.
because all that is ego. But to do the work as best as I can, is
Yes.
that also wrong?
No, that's right. Because you are doing that's I'll tell you, somebody asked mother, what does disinterested work mean? When you say without interest, without any motive. Okay, so in English you use the word disinterested. So they asked mother, if I do a work without interest, then how will I get it properly done? I will be careless. The mother said, no, that is not what it means. The words can be very misleading. When you say disinterested, it means that you are not having any motive or expectation or desire. See, even when Sri Aurobindo is working for the nation, is there not a desire for success? Of course there is. And he says that. So it has to be absolutely without any expectation. Who are we to
So
expect something?
no, that is what I want to say. Now,
Yeah,
I put my way wrong. My words were wrong again. Play of words. What I mean to say is that we should do the best I mean, whatever work we are doing, we should do it in the best way possible. Rest,
absolutely.
what happens is not in our hands. Right. That is
Absolutely.
it.
That's right.
Oh.
So words can be a little confusing. Okay. That's why,
Can I
yeah,
can I add something to it?
absolutely. Go ahead.
We can say like that. No, it's not me who is doing. It is you only who is doing. So success and failure, everything depends on us. I will do my work as a prop with honesty.
Yeah. So,
and surrender to her whatever the result is.
yeah, Shilpa, what you're saying is right. But the real condition you realize that you are not doing only when you go to the self. And the whole process of
Hmm.
described is you are going to the self. But once you have gone to the self, there is no more ego and there is only engagement because you are in the perfect consciousness of the Brahmic sthiti. That's right. But in the beginning, if you try to say to yourself that I am not the doer and divine is doing everything through nature, that's perfectly okay. But it's only a mental concept. It's not a spiritual realization. But it will lead to realization.
And also, unless we have realized, it may be a misleading thing also, no?
That's right. That's right. The misleading is there. Even Srimdu is saying that about Uttar Pradesh speech. So to make
We
him
may go to
understand.
the tamasic stage. Na? If we once we say that no, we are not the doer, so that
Yeah,
can bring us to the tamasic stage also. If we are not,
that's
like.
right. Yeah.
You know, Mother has said,
Hmm.
"Thou art the worker and the work. I
Hmm.
am just an instrument."
Hmm.
So the work is also the divine's work, and it's the divine who is working through you. Now, one
Absolutely.
of the examples I can give is,
Hmm.
supposing I want to sweep and swap up my room.
Okay.
Now I am going to sweep that room,
Hmm.
not because I want anyone to appreciate and come and tell me, oh, the floor of your room is very clean. No,
Yeah.
I'm going
Okay.
to do it because it is the divine who is living in this room. So
That's
I
right.
have to do the sweeping for the divine. I have
Yes.
to do the swabbing for the divine. I have
Yes.
to do the dusting for the divine. Not
Okay.
that anybody will come and tell me, okay, your room is clean. No, it is the divine who resides in this room. So I have to keep it clean for the divine.
Yes. I agree. But Yasmin, I'll point
There
out something.
is a sense of I.
That's what I was going to point out. You will get a satisfaction. I have done something nice for the divine. The ego
No,
is
no,
very,
no,
very, very
no.
subtle.
It's not that I have done it. Thou art the worker and the work. I am only an instrument. I am only a puppet in your hands who has to perform to the best of my capacity and ability.
Okay.
And the more you offer, remember and offer, the
Okay.
better your ability and capacity becomes.
Yes. What I'm pointing out, Yasmin, is what you're
Say
saying
that
is
is
fine, provided there is no egoism at all. But if you are not in the yogic consciousness or the Brahmic consciousness, a little bit of ego is always there. In fact, there is something called the instrumental ego. That's what I'm trying to point out to you, Yasmin. So when
Okay.
Very
yeah,
subtle actually. To understand the
very subtle.
ego, very
Yes,
subtle.
very
Often
subtle. The
because
ego
what
is something. Yeah,
because right now, Rangada, we are understanding everything mentally and trying to live it.
exactly, exactly.
Unless we really live in the self or get the self consciousness, whatever that thing is,
Yes,
really the ego doesn't go. What I feel, like when you really look into yourself, then suddenly you somewhere you find that yes, there was something somewhere subtle, which is
absolutely. That's right. And even when you are in the spiritual consciousness, okay, then that instrumental ego comes in. I have
okay.
divine chosen me for this work.
Yeah, that's what ego
yeah.
is so subtle
That's
that
called
really.
spiritual ego, no?
Yes, that's right. Then after the instrumental ego, there is even the spiritual ego. And now when you go to the highest level, when you are experiencing the infinite consciousness, there is a you na, who is experiencing. So
Hmm.
the ego loses its grossness, but it becomes an individual. The ego is that which makes you feel separate from others. But if the sense of separation also goes away, there is somebody who is experiencing the infinity. So that is the ego which has been absolutely purified and becomes an individual. It's very interesting. What is the distinction between individuality and ego? Very subtle. Ego is very gross. In the physical world, we are all, ego is very, very rampant. But even when you lose your gross ego and go to the Brahmic sthiti, instrumental ego can take over. And even when you go into the higher level of consciousness, some trace of ego can still be there. Okay, spiritual ego. You could call that the true individual. It's a very, very beautiful state, but still there is a individuality. That's why the Buddhists want absolutely even that individuality to disappear. Become the infinite. Don't be the individual who is experiencing the infinite. Dissolve even that you are experiencing the infinite. Become the infinite. That's what they want. Absolute disappearance of individuality. But Sremba is not in favor of that. He says you can retain the individuality, and because if you don't have the individuality, how will you work in the physical world? So some sort of individuality has to be kept. Okay. And this is interesting. I'll just give you 2 examples, then you'll understand. Okay. If you have to work in the physical world, that individuality and a very mild trait desire should be there. Otherwise, you can't come down. So I give you the example of Ramakrishna. Okay. He was told when he had the experience of the Brahmic consciousness, the Nirguna Brahman, he was constantly in trance. He used to even stand up and dance, but his consciousness is up there, not in the physical world. So he was always talking to his mother, the divine mother. So the mother tells him that you can't remain all the time there. You have to come down into your body because you have to work. You have got work to do. People will be coming to you and you have to interact with them, teach them. So what he used to do, to pull his consciousness down and anchor it in the body so that he can talk with others, he used to leave a small desire, a harmless desire. Now you can see the subtlety. Okay? He used to say, Ami jal khabo. Means I want a glass of water. It's a desire, but it is a very, 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 very mild desire. It will not really attach you down, but still it is enough to pull you down into the body. So that's what he used to do. Okay. So this is how.
Rangada,
Yeah, tell me.
what is the difference between instrumental ego and spiritual ego?
The instrumental ego is much subtler than the gross ego, and yet there is a sense of individuality. You feel that God is using you as an instrument. Okay, it's not gross, but it is subtle. But the spiritual ego, you can say in a certain sense, it becomes the individuality. Someone is experiencing the infinity and the cosmicity. Nah? You are conscious of yourself experiencing the cosmos. So there is that also. So after all, ego if you define as a limitation, then if you are experiencing the cosmos, then there is a difference between the cosmos and you. So you can say that it's an ego, very, very subtilized ego. You could call that the spiritual ego. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
It's very, very subtle, very subtle. In fact, Srivata says, yeah, tell me.
Rangada, to continue doing works,
Yeah.
this sense of individuality is necessary.
Yes, absolutely. Should have pointed out. So Srivata says it doesn't matter. If you continue to do that, and when you reach the absolute spiritual consciousness, then that individuality, it becomes a jivatman, becomes a part of the supreme. And you can't be absolutely impartial and still act in the world. It's not possible. So either you disappear into the infinite, but Srivata and the Gita don't want you to disappear into the infinite. They want you to be in the physical world. But the gross ego has gone, the instrumental ego has gone, and you are an individual, but a true individual. Doesn't matter if there is a little bit of sense of separation.
Individuality.
Yeah, individuality is there, because if it is not there, how will I speak to
Impersonal cannot
people?
work.
Yeah, how will I? I will mix up. All of them will be same to me. Yeah, these spiritual truths are very, very subtle. So we have to see what you say. See, we got stuck only at the desireless works and equality. What's the time? 8:15. We got time. We got 20 minutes. So I continue with the text. Okay. So the Brahmic Sthiti, Gita is saying, we have to have desireless works, nishkama karma, of equality, samatvam. Now, samatvam is also an interesting concept. It doesn't mean to say that I see everybody in the same way. Murderers and thieves and saints, they are all the same to me. No, you do see differences, but they don't affect you. Normally, when I see a thief, there is a sort of disapproval of what he's doing. And when you see a saint, there is approval. But even that will not be there. Judgment will be there, but you are not affected. Your behavior in the physical world will not be affected by any emotion or any prejudgment. That is the equality. It's not that you don't see the differences, you do, but you do exactly what is required. Okay? So, and then the Gita also rejection of outward renunciation.
Ranganath, one question about
Yeah.
samatva, about samatvam. As you are saying that there is no, you can see, but when you are involved in the thing, like today something is happening in the world, you see it and it doesn't affect you. But when you are involved in that and it affects you, then how do you?
No, then you are not in the samatvam. There should be nothing that will affect you. In fact, it is always, Tarika, it's always what affects you. Something happening outside in the road, okay, two people are quarreling, it won't affect you.
Yeah.
Even the normal man does not get affected.
Yeah.
Let them quarrel. What difference does it make to me? Okay. But the question is when it is affecting you. Samatha is applied. The principle of samatha is applied when it affects you individually.
Okay.
So now we come to the rejection of outward renunciation. Gita is not saying that give up all works. They are saying outward rejection is not the essential thing. The inner rejection is the more important thing. Okay? That means to say that the outer rejection can be a moral condition. Okay. Suppose I'll take a very simple example of drinking and smoking. Okay. I give up smoking, thinking it's going to be bad for my health, and drinking is going to be bad for my vital. I give it up. But the desire is still lurking in your mind. So spiritually, you have not gained anything at all. But if you cut the link in your mind, okay, it makes no difference to me if one day the cigarettes are not there. I am not affected at all. Okay? So the inner renunciation is the important one, not the outer renunciation. But that doesn't mean to say that the Gita is saying don't renounce the outer. They are not saying that. But they are saying it has got a secondary importance. In fact, Srimdo says in one place very clearly that even the outer renunciation is a discipline that every soul has to go through. Otherwise, how will you test yourself? How will you know that you are really in a samatvam condition? How will you know? You have to test yourself. Suppose you are very fond of sweets, okay? One day, don't take it and see what happens to you. Is there a reaction? Is there a longing? If there is absolutely no longing at all, then you are free. But if there is a very mild longing even, then you are not free. So you have to test yourself. In fact, I'll tell you, when Sri Aurobindo came here to Pondicherry, okay, in when was that? 1910. He came in 1910.
Yes.
He came here without money, without even clothes. He just obeyed the command, Sri Krishna's command. Go to Pondicherry. Immediately they made the arrangements from Chandarnagar and came to Pondicherry. It was his cousin. It was a cousin who arranged for the ticket and all that. They took a false name and then they booked on a French ship. Okay, and then they under a, because you can't, if you take Sri Aurobindo's name itself, then the police will immediately stop him from going out. So they had to do all that, they had to do, and his cousin did all that work. And he sat and came here to Pondicherry, no money, No clothes even, maybe one change. But after some time, even that disappeared. Even his shoes were stolen by Subramanya Bharati. Okay. So he is writing to Motilal Roy, he was living with Motilal Roy in Chandanagar. Okay. And I request you, if you ever go to Calcutta, okay, go to Chandanagar. It's about 45 minutes by train, and see that room where Srimdo was there for 1 month. Okay. Nobody knew. Even Motilal Roy's wife also did not know. One day by mistake she went into that room and saw him. And Motilal Roy told him, absolutely keep it secret. Nobody is to know. Okay. So now they have made that room very nice. They have carpeted, they have put flowers, they do puja, there is a picture of Srimdo. But he was there for 1 month. And then when he came to Pondicherry also, his name was because the Alipur bomb case trial had happened, and all the newspapers were full of that news. So everybody knew about Srirundu. And when they came, there were several people who came forward to give him money. Okay. And one of them, you have visited that house, na? Chettiar house.
Chettiar house.
Yeah. And then on special occasion, they let you go and see that room. Okay. Jugalda used to live in that room for a long time, and I used to go at night and have a lot of discussions with him in that room itself. Veswarendu was there. Then afterwards, the ashram gave it up, and then he changed also something. But that room is still there. Anyway, so he had to, one day, there was no vegetables and no nothing. So the people who were there with him, Avinash, I think his name was Avinash, he came and said that, sir, there is no vegetable, nothing, and there is no money also. So Srirendra told him, what is there? Something must be there. He said, yes, a little bit of rice is there. So he said, okay, cook that rice and put salt into it. That's all. We'll manage with that today. So this was the outer renunciation that they had to face. Okay. But it doesn't affect him at all. Even when mother came, you see his dress. Okay. Fantastic. Okay. I'll show you the picture. Okay. You can see the picture in my, but I'll show you the picture what he looked like in those days. Okay. Just one dhoti. Look at this. Okay. This was his condition. See that? Just one dhoti and not even an upper garment. Just, I love this picture. Look at that. Okay. A total renunciation and no, this is what mother saw him. So, renunciation outwardly. Outward renunciation is not forbidden. The Gita is not saying that don't do outer renunciation. But if you do only the outer and not the inner, then it is incomplete. The inner renunciation is the more important thing. And when you do the inner renunciation, you cut the link in the mind and the vital and even the body, because even the body is along the lingering. Na? Those who are fond of some particular types of foods, they are lingering even in the body. So you have to cut the link for the desire there, inside yourself. Then, if you do that, whether you engage in the act or not, it makes no difference to you because you are absolutely unaffected. Again, that famous example of Srendra used to smoke cigars and Gandhi's son had come to him. Everybody knows that story. But this is illustrative of the inner renunciation. So he told Srendra, why are you attached to smoking? So Srendra said, why are you attached to non-smoking? Attachment is a problem, whether it is smoking or non-smoking. I also remind you about even if you are attached to poverty, okay, it's an ego. I want to show that everybody, I am so simple, okay. I have no desire. I don't want to travel by first class. I want to travel only by third class. So this is the ego attached to the even the poverty. When you are attachment is a problem, not the outer act. The inner attachment has to be released. So that's what the rejection of outward renunciation it is discussed. It is discussed in the Gita of devotion to the divine, bhakti. Many people think that Jnana Yoga, for instance, doesn't have bhakti. And Bhakti Yoga has got nothing to do with Jnana. But Gita wants everything. Okay? It wants Jnana Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga. Even your actions must be dedicated to the divine. So, the three principles, desireless works, Nishkama Karma, equality, Samatvam, and rejection of outwards renunciation is the sannyasa or tyaga. This also is discussed. The two words, sannyasa and tyaga. Sannyasa, the giving up of the physical act itself. And the tyaga is the cutting the link inside your, psychologically you are cutting the link. That also is the Gita makes a distinction. And devotion to the Lord, bhakti, most important. Srivanda says that if you don't have bhakti, going to the supermental is not easy. It is bhakti that takes you there. But as yet, all this is slight and obscure. So the next chapters, all this is discussed in detail. What is most strongly emphasized as yet is the withdrawal of the will from the ordinary motive of human activities, desire, from man's normal temperament of the sense-seeking thought and will. Now, Srivanda uses words and we must know exactly what he's saying. Sense-seeking thought. Okay? So, the mind, thought is the mind. There are three parts of the mind. There is a mind which is only interpreting the senses. The sense mind, what you call the manas. But the sense-seeking thought is the vital mind. Is a mind that supports your desires. Okay? Then the third level of the mind is the pure mind or the reason, okay, which is the capacity of intellectual thinking with objectivity, with reason, and not being swayed by the vital likes and dislikes. That is the pure mind. So when Srivanda uses the word sense-seeking thought, he is talking of the vital mind and will, with its passions and ignorance. Okay, will is actually the will is part of the vital, but the real will is from the psychic being inside. Note interestingly that the psychic is behind the horizontally behind the vital. Okay, at the horizontal level through your heart center, with its passions and ignorance. Okay, and from its customary habit of troubled, many branching ideas and wishes to be the desireless calm unity and passionless serenity of the Brahmic voice. So these are the teachings of the Gita in chapter 2. That's what he said. So much Arjuna has understood. He is not unfamiliar with all this. It is the substance of the current teaching which points man to the path of knowledge, okay, path of knowledge, Jnana Yoga, and to the renunciation of life and works as his way of perfection. So, as at that time, Jnana Yoga was giving up of the physical works, because if you don't give up physical works, you are in contact with sense objects and it will give you desire and attachment. So, don't have anything to do with that. The best solution, they would say, is to run away to the forest and the cave, because there is no contact there. It becomes easier. But that's not the solution, because you are escaping from the problem. The real solution is to face the problem and conquer it. So that's the way. The intelligence withdrawing from sense and desire and a common action and turning to the highest, to the one, to the actionless Purusha. The word actionless Purusha, again very clearly the Brahmic city. Actionless. You are in a consciousness which is static. Okay. You must remember these descriptions so you can identify exactly what Srivanda is saying next time. When he is talking of the actionless Purusha, he is talking of the Brahmi city, okay? The Nirvana consciousness. You can call it so many things. You can call it the Sakshi. You can call it the Brahman. Okay? To the immobile, to the featureless Brahman. Again the same thing. It is totally featureless. That's why you can't describe it. Features, characteristics. No color, no shape, no form, no weight, no size, nothing. It is something absolutely the purest oneness. That surely is the eternal seed of knowledge. This is the experience. There is no room here for works. This is not what Swami is saying, nor is the Gita saying this. He is saying that this is the current teaching. Okay? So there is no room here for works. Don't get confused. Swami in the whole para is not discussing his ideas or the Gita's ideas. He is discussing the current teaching. So must be very careful how one reads Swami. Since works belong to the ignorance, this is the current teaching. Action is the very opposite of knowledge. Because if you do action, you will get attached and you will fall into ignorance. Desire will come up and attachment will come. Its seed is desire and its fruit is bondage. So if you have desire and ego, you will be bound to your desires. So there will be no freedom at all. When you go to the self, there is total freedom. That is the orthodox philosophical doctrine. And Krishna seems quite to admit it when he says that works are far inferior to the yoga of the intelligence. So, Swami will explain afterwards this seeming contradiction. Not only so, and yet works are insisted upon as part of the yoga. So, Gita is saying, Karma Yoga is a lesser of yoga, but still you have to do it. Okay? And yet works are insisted upon as part of yoga. So that there seems to be in this teaching a radical inconsistency. On the one hand, you are saying if you do works in the physical world, you will get attached, and that's the yoga of the intelligent will, the Jnana Yoga. And again, Gita is saying, no, you have to do the work. Arjuna, you can't throw your Gandiva away and say, I won't do work in the physical world. That is ignorance. You have to do work in the physical world. So this contradiction has to be solved. And yet works are insisted upon as part of the yoga. So that there seems to be in this teaching a radical inconsistency. Note the word seems. Not only so, it's even worse. For some kind of work, no doubt, may persist for a while. The minimum, the most inoffensive. What's he talking about? What you call normally? Swarga is a yatra. I have to eat, I have to sleep, I have to move. Okay? And if nobody is there to help me, I have to go to the market to get my food. I have to cook my food. So this is the minimum, but most inoffensive. Okay? This is what Swarga is saying. So minimum amount of work you have to do. You can't avoid. But here is a work wholly inconsistent with knowledge, with serenity, and with the motionless peace of the self-delighted soul. What's he talking about? The work that Arjuna has to do. And what is that work? He has to kill his own guru, his own grandfather, his own cousins, his own relatives. Okay? So that is something that he just can't do. Okay? So how can this sort of violent work be consistent with yoga? That's what Swami is asking. A work terrible, even monstrous, a bloody strife, a ruthless battle, a giant massacre. Yet it is this that is enjoined. The word enjoined, advised, encouraged. Okay? It is this that is enjoined. You are asked to do it. This is a command. This that is sought to justify by the teaching of inner peace and desireless equality and the status in the Brahman. So if you are in the Brahman, nothing affects you, and then you have to wait for the command of the divine. And if the divine says fight, you will fight. And if the divine says don't fight, you won't. And that's exactly what happened to Sri Aurobindo. He is fighting for India's freedom. He is fighting. And he is told by Sri Krishna, stop this fight for India's freedom, others will take care of it, don't worry. You go to Pondicherry and do some other work, a much more important work. So he has to give up the work. So he obeys the divine. Okay? But Arjuna is told, no, you continue the same work. That's your destiny. Okay? You have to do that. So it depends on what the divine tells you to do. Yet it is this that is enjoined. This that is sought to justify by the teaching of inner peace and desireless equality and status in the Brahman. Here then, is an unreconciled contradiction. Arjuna complains that he has been given a contradictory and confusing doctrine, not the clear, strenuously simple way to okay. So the Arjuna complains that he has been given a contradictory and confusing doctrine, not the clear, strenuously single road by which the human intelligence can move straight and trenchantly to the supreme good. I want a clarity, he is saying. It is in answer to this objection that the Gita begins at once to develop more clearly its positive and imperative doctrine of works. So, Karma Yoga. That's why the chapter works and sacrifice. How to do works in the physical world? Do it as a sacrifice. Do it as an offering to the divine without any expectation and without any desire. Okay? Karmanyevadhikaraste ma phaleshu kadachana. So you have only the right to action, never to the fruits thereof. Okay? So that's what the Gita says. Don't expect the fruits of works. That the divine will take care of it. If you deserve it, he will give you. If you don't deserve it, it will go to others. But you don't have to worry about it. So 8:36. So we have to stop here today. We have done only one para of the essays of the Gita. But you can see how subtle. We had so many discussions and so many views came up. But then I hope there is clarity and it's very, very subtle, the teaching of the Gita. Okay? So, can I wish all of you a happy day?
Buon day, Ranganatha. Merci.
Have a nice day.